Hi folks, Mike here. So my PTO seal was leaking on my Mahindra 2555 HST tractor, and it was getting close to the 550-hour maintenance to change all the fluids on it, so I figured I might as well change the seal. Now, I started doing it already. I dropped the fluid out from underneath, and you really can't do it without dropping the fluid, so that's why I figured I might as well wait till it's time to change the hydrostatic hydraulic oil. It wasn't hard at all to do. I mean, I used the those pry picks, and you get a Harbor Freight. Would have been nicer if I found the one that was more straighter. And then I just hammered it. This was on there like that, and you could see where I hammered the tip in of the pick. Then I just twisted it, and so it grabbed like an L shape, and just pulled on it, and it came out. Did that in a couple of spots, so it came out pretty easy. You have to be careful not to, when you're putting the pick in, or a screwdriver, whatever you're gonna use to pull that seal off, not to damage the metal here, the metal shaft, and not to go in too deep to hit the ball bearings, and not to hit the sides. So you got to be careful, but it was pretty easy. Yeah, if you just aim towards the center of the seal, and use the L pick, and then angle it, and just give it a couple of tugs, and it comes right off. And this bracket actually goes on the outside. I'll show you that later. So that's what I'm doing today, changing the hydraulic / hydrostatic fluid, and I'm going to change the engine oil and the gear oil for the front axle, and all the filters associated with it. One other thing to mention is I'm not going to put, I've seen some guys put some kind of sealant on the outside of the new PTO seal. I'm not going to do that because that's not how it was originally. And you know, if it didn't leak for 400 hours the way it was originally, I'm not going to bother doing it any other way. So my suggestion is put it in exactly the same way that it came out. No additional sealant or any other crap. Besides, you know, if it starts, it was only dripping out, but I figured I might as well change it now. I would say over the course of a whole year, it started dripping about a year ago. It probably dripped out a total of 2 gallons of hydrostatic transmission fluid, you know, over the course of a year. So no big deal to me. And like I said, it lasted about 400 hours without it leaking at all. And I'm wondering if it began to leak because the brush hog, I do some brush hogging, and when the brush hog sways back and forth quite a bit going through the brush, I wonder if it's putting extra sideways motion on this and causing a leak around the seal. So I think what I'm going to do going forward when using the brush hog is, well, I don't have the arms on here now, but I'm going to make the arms stiffer, you know, so it can't sway as much, and maybe it'll stop the PTO shaft from swaying too far. I don't know, it's just a guess. Anyway, I'll get back to you later. And another thing I noticed while I'm in here looking at it, I think the bearings back here, if they ever went bad, they don't look too bad to replace. It looks like there's a C-clip you have to take out, and it may just pull right off. Anyway, something to keep in mind. Just have a closer look. See the C-clip right here? So I'm guessing if we take that out, we could take out the whole bearing pretty easily, just in case I ever have to do it in the future. All right, so it's not quite in yet. What I'm doing is I pushed it on gently. Now I'm going around with the screwdriver and just tapping all around after I, wipe down the screwdriver. I don't want to get any dirt in there. And just tapped around with a little bit of force to try to get it to sit in evenly. All right, that's about as far as I'm going to tap it in. I was using a block of wood to tap it in on the edge. And I'm using this extension to go around and tap it in. Got to be careful though, because you don't want to end up deforming it. Right now, it's just on the inside. I could feel the lip here, which is good. So it's on the inside of this metal casing. I did notice though, this end is in a little bit more than the rest of it, but I'm going to leave it and see if it leaks. If it does, then I'll have to come take this cover off and maybe try to tap all around this way and get this in a little bit further so it's even. But I'm afraid of deforming it if I do it anymore, so I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. It's easy enough to do later. Just take out 2 screws and then this cover comes off. Then I'll figure out some way. Maybe I'll use this again and just tap lightly around here to right about there and try to get it in the same deepness as this side. But it looks like here the seal is around that shaft, so I'm not going to bother doing any more. I'm afraid of deforming it. Okay, PTO seal is done. Everything's back together. Give it a test run for a while, no leaks. I replaced a hydraulic filter and a hydrostatic filter. And that's it. It was pretty easy to get out the seal. Really the biggest pain in the butt was doing oil cleanup afterwards. The 10 gallons of oil you have to put back in the containers and cleaning up the oil that was spilled. But overall, not a bad job. I always think of something else to mention. The drain plug for the hydraulic oil, you'll see it. It's underneath the rear end here. It's like a pipe plug. And I think it was 7/8 wrench. When you put it back in, make sure you clean off any old thread dope that's on the threads on the plug, and put some new thread dope on. But make sure you only put it on the threads and don't let any hang off. Otherwise it could get caught inside the hydraulic pump and hydrostatic pump and all the rest of that crap. So you want to make sure you only put this on the threads and make sure there's no extra hanging off the side or the top or whatever inside the housing.